Is it off? Okay.
Yeah, quite
Get started
here.
Are you ready? All right. So good evening. I am calling to order the Transportation and Circulation Commission meeting for the city of Lafayette, California for February 2nd, 2026. We will begin with roll call. Commissioner Greg Brown is not here. Commissioner Mario DePresco.
Here.
Commissioner Mark Dreger.
Here.
Commissioner Lynn Hedane, my apologies.
It's Swedish. My husband's grandparents were Swedish.
Commissioner Tony Rutner.
Here.
Great. Commissioner Chair Bart Carr is unable to attend this meeting tonight, so I'll be presiding in his absence. Vice Chair Commissioner Michelle Zahar. Here supported by Patrick Rier, the city's Transportation and Circulation Manager. And before we begin the agenda, I will read a brief notice regarding public participation. So members of the public may participate virtually in this meeting via video feed. However, the city cannot guarantee that the public's access will be uninterrupted, and technical difficulties may occur. Every effort will be made to restore audio access. However, unless required by the Brown Act, Transportation and Circulation Commission meetings will continue despite technical difficulties. In the event of a video interruption, members of the public are invited to join the meeting in person. In regards to public comment must be made within the subject matter jurisdiction of the commission and can either be given for items on the agenda at the time of the item is heard or during the public comment agenda item for items not on the agenda. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes. If a commenter reaches and exceeds 3 minutes, we'll politely ask the commenter to conclude his or her comments. In-person commentators are asked to submit speaker slips. All right, so item 3 on the agenda does not apply tonight. Item 4 is adoption of the agenda. Do I hear a motion to adopt?
I so move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The agenda is adopted. Thanks. So item 5 on the agenda is public comments for items not on the agenda. At this time, we will open public comment for items not on the agenda. Do we have speaker slips? Are we getting speakers?
No, I haven't received any speaker slips. No.
Okay. Are there any public comments online?
No one with their hands raised.
All right, so seeing no speakers, public comment is now closed. Item 6 on the agenda is old business. No old business is noted, so we will go into item 7, new business. Item 7A, new business, is the Lafayette Community Smart Signals Project and the CCTA Countywide Smart Signals Project. The recommendation is to receive and file.
Right. So last month when I brought the 2026 work plan to this commission, one of the items was the countywide and La Miranda Smart Signals project. And there were a lot of good questions from the commission that I was not able to answer, but today we have 2 gentlemen from the CCTA who are here to take us through the project and also be able to answer your questions. Andy Dillard and Jay Zhang. And we have a presentation that CJ will broadcast.
What position could we have? What position do you all play?
I'll introduce myself right now.
No, seriously, I'm
yes.
serious.
Yeah, I'm an associate engineer with CCTA.
And then what engineer?
Associate engineer.
Associated
Yes.
engineer, okay. So they're wearing you out early.
Great. Good evening, commissioners. My name is Jay Zhang, associate engineer at CCTA. With me, we have Andy Dillard, our senior engineer. So CCTA, we are a planning, funding, and delivering agency for transportation projects in the county. We manage the county's half-cent sales tax measure, Measure J, as some of you might be familiar, to help improve the county's transportation system. And tonight we are bringing you project update for the 2 smart signal projects in the city of Lafayette. And so these 2 projects are related, but very distinct. Both projects are part of the modern effort to modernize the county's signal network.
Can you tell us what they are?
Yeah, as I get into the presentation, I'll
explain.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah, that's the goal tonight. So the goal will be to give you that brief overview of the project and also, what's being installed, when and where, and, what are the benefits and why it matters to all of you. And so next slide, please. Yeah, so the agenda tonight, as you can see, I'll start with a brief project snapshot on two of these projects. And then including funding and scope, and then I'll dive deeper into the La Miranda Smart Signal System project, the background and location and the schedule. And then my colleague Andy here will be giving you the presentation for the countywide Smart Signal project at the later half of the presentation. So if you focus on the right-hand side of the graphic here, I think it really shows how the two projects fit together. And I think the key takeaway here is that the project will happen in parallel and complement each other rather than working in isolation. And so on top half of that loop there, that's the La Miranda Smart Signal System project. The primary objective there is to upgrade the city's aging signal infrastructure, like the controller and cabinets. They'll install video detection systems on the signal mast arms. It'll also be deploying something called the Advanced Traffic Management System. Will allow staff to remotely access these intersections and manage them dynamically. And on the bottom half there, you have the countywide Smart Signal project. That project will be installing battery backup system and transit signal priority at selected locations. One note that I want to make is that the countywide project is much larger in scope, but for the sake of discussion tonight, I'll only be focusing on the work that's occurring within the city of Lafayette.
How many communities are involved?
So for the countywide project, it's actually all of the
Is it
county.
all
Yeah, all of
county?
the jurisdictions in the county.
Okay,
For the La Miranda Smart Signal, the top half will be the region of La Miranda. So Lafayette, Orinda, and Moraga are involved in that project.
and we'll get the traffic from where?
You will not be getting traffic. It will help reduce congestion. Is the goal of the project. You're not getting more traffic.
I don't believe. You're a very nice young man, but I don't believe that.
But hopefully in the later slides, you'll see.
I was
the
part of the
benefits.
CCTA for a long time,
Uh-huh.
formative part, I remember.
So one thing I also want to note is that the countywide project will also be bringing something called the center-to-center communication, or the C2C ATMS. This will allow CCTA to create a shared platform where all the cities can access to, and will give us better ability to manage the signals across the county. Next slide, please. And so here's the snapshot that I was referring to earlier. Again, I just want to stress the two projects are occurring in parallel and they complement each other rather than working in isolation. As far as the La Miranda project.
Can you slow down just a little bit?
Yeah. So as far as the La Miranda Smart Signal System project is, it really focuses on upgrading the aging hardware of the intersections in Lafayette. So that's replacing your old cabinets and controllers, installing video detections instead of using the loop detectors. And also, like I said, providing the ATMS to allow staff to access those intersections remotely. As far as the countywide project is focusing more on battery backup system, emergency vehicle preemption, also EVP, transit signal priority, TSP, and like I said, the center-to-center ATMS.
So none of the Lafayette lights will have backup batteries?
It will,
Oh, they will?
yes.
Okay, great.
So both projects are fully funded, although by different funding sources. The La Miranda project is funded by something called the federal earmark, and also local match. The countywide project is funded by the One Bay Area grant, OBAC 3, as well as the Senate Bill 1, Measure J, and other local match money.
Just for my own curiosity,
Yeah.
Elsewhere in the county, is the scope of work being funded through the county project for some of the things that the La Miranda project funds for us, some of this hardware? That's correct.
So the La Marinda signal is funded by the earmark and the local match from La
Right.
Marinda only.
Yeah, I was just thinking the county as a whole.
Yeah.
Some of that scope would be funded from that. I'm getting a
Correct.
nod from your
Yes,
colleague in the
yeah,
audience.
yeah,
Okay.
so you will also be funding part of the countywide project.
I think I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And was that from Congressman DeSaulnier?
Yes,
Their
the earmark, at the $4.185 million.
second DeSaulnier project, we should have a DeSaulnier honorary thing here.
That's right.
Yeah, so both projects are implemented by CCTA, and they're sponsored by multiple jurisdictions. The La Marinda one is sponsored by, all 3 cities here in the region, and the countywide is sponsored by all 20 Contra Costa jurisdictions.
What did you say? Excuse me.
So
What the,
so the La Marinda project is sponsored by all 3 cities here in the region, the La Marinda region. And the countywide is sponsored by all 20 jurisdictions, in the
Yeah,
county,
yeah.
including the La
the
Marinda.
figures? Yeah.
Next slide, please. Sorry, a lot of text here, but just diving into a little bit more detail in the La Marinda Smart Signal System project. So the project will be upgrading 56 signalized intersections in this region, 30 of which will be located within the city of Lafayette. Primarily, they're along Mount Diablo Boulevard and Pleasant Hill Road. I think also 5 or 6 on Moraga Road as well. So like I said, the project will be upgrading aging infrastructure. So that's upgrading the controller cabinets. We'll be installing video detection systems to replace the existing loop detectors that's currently operating on the street. We'll also be upgrading communication like Ethernet and cellular communication methods. And lastly, we'll deploy the cloud-based ATMX software package to allow staff to remotely access, monitor, and manage all of the intersections that are being upgraded. And so the benefits of the project is it will allow real-time insight into how all the intersections are operating. It will allow staff to dynamically manage traffic flow, improve signal coordination, and reduce unnecessary waiting and idling time. Lastly, the ATMS will allow staff to remotely monitor and manage the intersections in real time as well.
When you say ATMS, is that something that City of Lafayette staff will also have access to?
Yeah, so
It
this,
won't just be CCTA staff.
right, we don't have access to the local ATMS.
Okay,
Only C staff has, but the C2C, which Andy will talk about later, that'll integrate all of the local ATMS into a centralized platform.
Okay.
For us to access.
so it sounds like both county staff and
Yeah.
city staff will be able to
Exactly.
monitor
Through different
cameras and
platforms. Yeah.
make adjustments.
Yeah.
Like that. Okay.
Excuse me, how were the 30 intersections selected? Was it a discussion with the staff? And
Did you want to answer that?
I picked them.
Yeah.
No, I didn't just randomly pick them. Those are high congestion corridors, right? And it actually, between the 2 projects, we're touching upon every signal in Lafayette. Some of those, by the way, are even Caltrans owned, but we're gonna have some cooperation with Caltrans. For example, the on-ramps and off-ramps at Ockalani's and Pleasant Hill Road. So, and over on Deer Hill Road, that one on-ramp there as well. So, it's primarily Pleasant Hill Road, the Moraga Road, Mount Diablo Boulevard corridor, and some Deer Hill Road and, well, off of Pleasant Hill Road.
Yeah, I'll have a map next.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike.
There you go.
How about,
Yeah,
I was going to ask a question about the signals
Mhm.
along Moraga Road.
Yeah.
Who governs that particular project, or is there not going to be alterations to the joint?
So the city of Lafayette will operate the intersection within the Lafayette city limits. And once it goes through the Moraga side, city staff in Moraga will operate their intersection. Does that make-
Yeah, okay,
So it really depends on where the intersection is along the corridor and which jurisdiction it falls into.
okay, all right,
So,
yeah.
you could bring up the next slide. Don't know if it will be too small to kind of see, so the red dots are the locations. Again, like Mike said, it's mostly along the corridor that has most traffic volumes. So it'll provide the greatest benefit. So that's along Mount Diablo Boulevard and Pleasant Hill Road on the north-south corridor, and also about 4 or 5 new sections on Moraga Road as well. Next slide, please. So in terms of schedule, we're looking to complete the design by the end of this month, February 2026. And then we'll go out for construction bid advertisement in April 2026. We'll be looking to award the contract in June of 2026, and construction will begin from July to December of 2026. I think with that, that completes my part of the presentation. I'll pass it on to Andy here to talk a little bit more about the countywide.
Hi, good evening, commissioners. My name is Andy Dillard. I'm a senior engineer with CCTA. I'll give you a little bit of background about myself. I was with the town of Danville for many, many years. I started on the other side of this project, like in Mike and Patrick's seat when this project first started selecting the intersections for the town. But now I'm with CCTA and picking up the project for the countywide portion. Jay did a great job explaining the two projects. I know it gets a little bit confusing that there's two separate projects. There's also other earmarks in other parts of the county as well. Concord and Danville have one as well. So there's a lot of overlap with these smart signal projects, but they're all essentially doing the same thing, delivering the same thing. The countywide signal project, to Commissioner Drager's question earlier, is like I said, it's doing a lot of the same things that the La Miranda project is doing. It's providing new traffic controllers, video detection systems, the battery backup systems, and software based packages. So a lot of the same elements. Because Lafayette has the federal earmark, you're doing a lot of those things already with the earmark. So what the countywide project is doing is kind of filling in the holes for some of the other elements, and that's primarily battery backup systems as part of the countywide project for Lafayette. In total, there will be 29 battery backup systems being installed in Lafayette, and those systems will have up to 11 to 12 hours of runtime. That's very important to a lot of agencies these days, is to have that battery backup, especially with all the PSPS challenges we've had, evacuation concerns. I know there's an evacuation study in La Miranda, so battery backup is definitely been an elevated subject of discussion, as well as a need for local agencies.
Tell us what that is.
So battery backup systems, thank you for the question. Battery backup systems provide ongoing continuous power to the traffic signals if they are to lose power, whether it's a PSPS event, a general power outage, some sort of emergency, wildfire, etc. So it keeps your traffic signals running for a certain period of time. There's all kinds of different technologies out there with different types of batteries. But it's kind of a trade-off between cost, efficiency, and performance of what an agency picks. So
Have you made your choice yet?
the city has made their choice. Yeah. So in addition to battery backup systems, you see there that cloud-based transit signal priority is, and I'll explain what that is in a second, as well as emergency vehicle preemption. Cloud-based transit signal priority, it's basically what that does is it provides priority to transit buses. We're still looking at how much of that we can provide with this project, because really the core needs of the cities is to build up their hardware infrastructure to make sure their controllers are up to grade, their cabinets, their video detection systems, and their battery backup. Those are really the key elements. The cloud-based systems, those are additional elements. We would love to do cloud-based systems for the entire county with this project, but that'll probably be a future project to completely build that out. But there will be some intersections that will receive cloud-based transit signal priority. And what that is a bus that would be traveling down an arterial roadway. They approach the signal, and it could tell the signal to give it priority to turn green. And that keeps transit buses on time and it promotes ridership, and it provides a great value to folks who do use transit. Emergency vehicle preemption for this project is basically upgrading the hardware of the vehicle preemption. So emergency response vehicles, fire trucks, police cars, ambulances, when they approach a signal, they can send a signal to it and it'll also turn green to give them preemption, and it basically preempts the signal. So we'll be upgrading that hardware in the cabinet as well. In total, it's a very, very large project, as Jay was explaining. It's all 19 cities in the county, 365 intersections. And each city is getting various elements. As Jay explained, everything that you're getting in La Miranda with your earmark is a lot of what the other cities are doing for the countywide project. In total, it's a $30.9 million project. Another key element of the project that Jay spoke about is what's in the bottom bullet point there is C2C ATMS. What that means is center to center traffic management system. So the city's going to receive their own local traffic management system as part of your earmark. That controls all your signals. That allows your staff to view all your signals from what we call a TMC. So their office, essentially, they'll be able to see what the traffic signals are doing. That's what's called a local ATMS. A center to center countywide ATMS is something that CCTA is employing, and that's going to bring everybody's signals back to CCTA. So we'll be able to see what's going on in all the agencies that have these systems. We won't be operating the systems, we'll just be monitoring them, but CCTA wants to take a larger role in the future to help out cities, whether it's operationally with signal coordination, evacuation management, as I spoke to, management of various elements like connected vehicles, those types of things. CCTA is going to take a larger role in that. So this CTC ATMS system that's going to be housed at CCTA, that's kind of like the first step for that direction. So it's really a great benefit to all the cities, because cities have varying staffing levels, abilities that they can do. Just there's only so much time in the day. Not everybody has a traffic engineer on board. So, this will allow CCTA in the future to take a larger role in traffic ops and local agencies. Next slide. Thank you. So a very similar map to your earmark project. This is the Lafayette signals or signalized intersections included in the countywide project. Mount Diablo corridor, somewhere along Moraga Road there, and of course Pleasant Hill Road. Next slide, please.
Do you yet know where you'll have transit signal priority? I imagine it's the Route 6 line.
Yes, there's a total of, great question. There's 5 intersections. I believe there's 3
Probably Moraga.
on Moraga Road,
Yeah.
and 2 on Mount Diablo. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Similar schedule, although I think the countywide is a little far ahead. We're really pushing to try and get this wrapped up, but we're about at 100% design. So we're aiming to go out to bid in the spring and award the contract in May, so we can start construction in the summer. Now, because this is such a large project, it's probably going to take, with equipment procurement and all those types of things, it's probably going to take about a year before we get every city completed. It's a pretty large endeavor, but one of the cost saving measures that CCTA is doing, it's a little bit more work, but we feel it's worth it, is procuring all the equipment up front. So we'll be providing that agency furnished to the contractors, and that saves all the agencies a little bit of money. It's a little bit more administration on our part, but we feel that it'll be a good cost benefit to the cities. So, and a little bit about the funding. This is primarily funded with OBAG 3. I'm sure you're familiar with the One Bay Area Grant Program, and OBAG 4 is they're drafting the guidelines for that as we speak. So we have our eye on a future phase of this project using OBAG 4 money. So to kind of continue what we've started here. So we're excited about that. And I think that's the last slide.
Sorry, can you go back to the map? Just because I see one. Yeah, I see one above, Mount Diablo to that freeway. I was just, I guess there's another freeway entrance north of 24. You mentioned that the power outages, they happen a lot. So the reason why that second one, I guess I'm curious why.
The Caltrans one.
Yeah, the battery there, just because it goes out often and then people can't get on the freeway, because it's, anyway. And so maybe it's not as busy as those other ones, but if there were evacuation or any, like, it would be important, that one.
Is it an intersection not being shown there? Or?
Yeah, it's not.
Oh.
Well, is it the one coming off the highway? Is that the one you're
It
talking
is
about? But that's Caltrans, right? That's the.
Yeah, that may be included in the earmark project, actually. So with
Okay.
another distinction too.
It wasn't on the other map.
Yeah, I
though.
don't think it was.
no.
In the countywide projects, we're not touching any Caltrans intersections. We
Okay.
may in a future phase, that was kind of by design because Caltrans uses different equipment than the cities do, whether it's their controllers or cabinets, battery backup systems or battery backup systems, but it can be difficult to work with them as far as, integrating your equipment. So that's something that CCTA is also doing. That's probably a whole nother presentation with Innovate 680, but how we're trying to work with them a little closer on more integration there, so.
These TMCs, is there be somebody on staff who'd actually monitor this thing? Or, I mean, who's gonna be looking after to notice that something's going wrong?
Yeah, great question. So, every city has varying levels of staff. So some cities are lucky enough to have traffic engineers, but one of the benefits of these systems is that it's ease of use. So you don't have to sit there and stare at these things. They give you alerts, they give you warnings when something goes
But
wrong.
there'd have to be somebody getting the alert.
But somebody has to get the alert. And one of the other benefits too is your signal maintenance crews. I believe you guys, Lafayette subcontracts out their signal maintenance. That's gonna give them the ability to view your system,
That contractor.
that contractor off premises. So because it's gonna be cloud-based, they're gonna be able to sit in their office or in their truck and be able to see if there's an issue. The county, signal maintenance, they provide a lot of maintenance for some of the cities, and that's been a big need for them. So you have two sets of eyes on it, whether you have a traffic engineer or your signal staff. Our maintenance staff can both monitor your signals and get alerts, so.
And then the video detection would detect bicyclists as well as cars.
Yeah, great question. So one of the things we probably should have been emphasizing more is safety. Obviously efficiency and getting your signals running well is very important, but safety is really the key element of this project. And the video detection systems that are going in, they do detect bicycles, they detect pedestrians as well as all your different types of classes of vehicles. And they also provide you with your staff with analytics. So it can tell you speeds of traffic, volumes of traffic, and now it can start telling you things like when you have a near miss event, those types of things. And both of these grants for Lafayette, they cover portions of that video analytics software that you'll be getting with your ATMS system. So it really gives you really good information and feedback on what's going on in your roadways out there.
But is it just analytics or is it actual like video surveillance? Recording images or is it anonymized?
So the video, the prime, when we talk about video detection, it's basically to provide detection of vehicles, peds and bikes that gives the message to the signal controller that there's somebody there and that it needs to turn green or it needs to extend your signal timing or whatnot. So that's really the primary function of it, but they're all high resolution cameras. So you also get that video feed so you can actually see that specific leg of the intersection. So it's a visual, it's the data that feeds the signal controller, and then it's the analytics on top of
Is the
that.
video all being recorded?
So with cloud-based systems now, you can do that. With older video systems that aren't cloud-based, you can't really do that because there's nowhere to store the data. It's going right back to your controller. So now there is the ability to do that, to record that. The different manufacturers, they all have different costs and structures for that, but there is that capability.
So effectively the pan tilt zoom cameras.
Yeah, and then there's pan tilt zoom cameras, which basically those are just kind of like, those are just monitoring an intersection, although there are some that can provide the detection capability too, but those are usually like a single camera. You see them in like in buildings and stuff, but it's like a 360 kind of fisheye is what we call it. But the video detection systems that that Lafayette's gonna be getting is, it's directly pointing at a specific leg of the intersection. So a standard 4-leg intersection, you're gonna have 4 cameras.
So no PTZ cameras, just the 4 on approaches.
Yeah, so there is PTZ in the project, but it depends on whether we have to budget some in those, because I think Andy mentioned the main focus is the VDS, the video detection and the safety feature. So those come in first. And if the bids come in lower, obviously we wouldn't have that for the PTZ, yeah.
So to wrap up that was a great question and segue. So yeah, safety is definitely a huge part of this, whether we're talking about battery backup systems, even the traffic signal controllers. They're able to process more of this what we call high resolution data. It's bringing back the video feeds and able to process and spit out all these really great static to help your city engineer and your transportation manager make decisions on what's happening out in the roadway in real time, basically.
Any more questions?
I have a couple. So it sounds like from your presentation, and thank you, it's very detailed, that operational control, at least for the time being, stays with the city.
Absolutely.
The county just wants to monitor, but in the future, there could be some changes to process or signal timing review. If you think there are regional benefits, is that right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
It'll always be local control. That'll never go away, but not to dive too deeply in the Innovate 680 project, but we have our coordinated adaptive ramp metering project, several other projects that are part of the Innovate 680 suite. And that's part of the reason why we want to start this integration. So if there are things happening on the freeway, it's also communicating to your arterial roadways as well. So it's able to work in a coordinated system. So that's the ultimate goal.
Okay.
So in that scenario, because we do sometimes have, basically, because of freeway congestion, people come through Lafayette. Can you share what, with this new system, when it's running, how it would be different from what it is today? In that case where, let's say 24 is full and people are diverting around?
Sure. So these newer ATMS systems, they have what's called a adaptive traffic signal timing and coordination element. So traditional, not to get too into the weeds, but traditional signal timing plans, it's a time of day. Like you have your school peak, right, is 7 to 9 a.m. and 2 to 4 and 4 to 6 for your commute. You plug in those signal timings and that it is what it is. Coordinated is a little bit more advanced than that. You have coordination where it has the ability to keep signals, even though you have that set timing plan, they can run longer green times on your arterials to flush traffic out. But the newer ATMS systems, they have what's called adaptive, so they can adapt to traffic in real time. So if there was an event that happened on the freeway, and traffic was being diverted, you could flush traffic through your community sooner. Now, you may not want to do that. You may want to discourage that. I worked in Danville, so I'm fully aware of, the downsides of that. Sometimes you don't want your traffic signals to be efficient because you don't want people to run through your town. So, but the point being is that you have the ability to make those decisions and capabilities to time those signals as the city sees fit.
Is there a dedicated staff from Lafayette that is working closely with CCTA, and once they roll off, and it's really like in our wheelhouse, like what are next steps or what does that look like? From a staffing perspective, like who's managing?
I am the project manager for working with CCTA on the design of the project. And after the project is installed, we work with the contractor, DC Electric. I'm imagining, yeah, we just be closer coordinated. I mean, when we have signal issues, we call DC Electric. They have to send a truck out to the individual intersection, make manual changes to the controller to address whatever issue you're trying to resolve. This will allow those issues to be solved much quicker.
Yeah, Patrick answered it spot on. We would likely use DC Electric. They would have access to our cloud-based data. They might be able to make some changes or adaptions or changing signals remotely rather than coming on site. So that's the hope. We will not have a person monitoring a computer screen at the city of Lafayette. We couldn't justify that with the smaller staff. But we feel we're gonna get even better service and quicker service with this new system.
It sounds like they're familiar with this and they're looking forward to.
Yeah, they've installed some for other,
Okay.
I think City of Concord. They'll probably bid on one or both of these projects. So DC Electric was really a spinoff for Contra Costa County. Andy mentioned that the county handles a lot of other signals. For our La Miranda signals, our project, for Lafayette and Orinda, DC Electric handles our management of the signals and our maintenance. And for Moraga, town of Moraga, it's the county. But John Abraham, who's the head at DC Electric, was the head at the county before that. So he knows all Moraga signals already as well. So as well as other jurisdictions. So honestly, we've had very good success with DC Electric. We had never tried the county when we had inquired about them. They did not have the capacity to add us years ago. We had used other signal contractors that were based a little further away, and it seemed like every time we called them, their technician was coming from San Jose or Sacramento or somewhere else. And the one good thing about DC Electric is that they're based in Pacheco, and then they have other neighboring jurisdictions. And it seems like when we call them, they're always very nearby and can get here much quicker. So that's been a good advantage for the city of Lafayette.
And Michelle, I should also mention, just to back up, we also have a public works crew and a lot of the maintenance issues. If a signal's down, typically they'll get called about that. So they also have the direct line to DC, but they likely will also be monitoring things, I'm guessing. I don't know.
Yeah, as far as getting the alerts, perhaps, yeah.
Yeah.
I think fixing issues is great. I'm also interested if this helps us to adjust signal timing in the future to do more interesting things. I think about Mount Diablo Boulevard, and in situations there's no or very minimal all red where the signal's all red. There's different opinions about that, but an example being specifically Moraga Road and Mount Diablo, you always see people getting caught in the red because that yellow is what it is, and then one phase turns red and the other one goes immediately green. And I think, people kind of anticipate that, whether they know that they are or not, that's just kind of a thing, but it doesn't have to be that way. And there's trade-offs. LPIs are another thing that we could be doing more of. And I'm just wondering if this makes it easier to do that.
I think it would make it easier to adjust all those things, right? And you typically would adjust one thing at a time. There is, on some of those critical intersections, we actually do have some all red time.
Sure.
But for some drivers, it isn't gonna matter how long it's all red.
Yep.
They're gonna be the next car
And same
through,
thing with the yellow.
whether it's been red for 2 cars or 0 cars, right? So, and
Yeah.
same thing with the yellow, right? So but it does mean we would have more flexibility in trying things. It'd be easier to try. Right? Kind of one thing at a time. I know Patrick has added several leading pedestrian intervals at several intersections already. It's something we're exploring more. And obviously there's just a balance of vehicle, pedestrian, bicycle, all of it. We have to make everybody safe and still get vehicles through.
All those things you mentioned are things we can do today. It's just a very manual process.
I think that's kind of what I'm getting at. If some of that can be done remotely or doesn't require open up the cabinet every time. Okay.
Yeah,
That's your
correct.
assumption too, Jay and Andy, is that can be done remotely? Yeah,
with the cameras, yeah.
Any more questions? All right, well, thank you so much for your time and the presentation. It was very informative.
Yeah, Lafayette is very appreciative of CCTA, both Jay and Andy as the project managers. And, honestly, I'll give a shout out to Tom Moraga. Nate Levine is a traffic engineer and he's been part of the La Miranda. He's asked the hardier questions, if you will, just because he's got a better background in signal technology. So I think that's going to be a benefit for all of La Miranda. So just a shout out to my
Who is
partners.
that?
Nate Levine, he is the interim public works director / town engineer for Moraga.
Uh-huh.
Sean just retired, so Nate is currently an interim in town of Moraga, so.
All my friends are retiring. I'm not going to see any familiar faces anymore. I may have to retire too.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, going into item
Thank
7.
you very much, by the way,
Oh.
appreciate your time, not only in presenting to us, but also in putting this project together.
I think maybe can we,
Give them a round of applause.
So, item 7, the new business, item 7B, is the quarterly report on transportation action requests. The recommendation is to receive and file the summary of transportation action requests.
You asked for if there's public comment on
Oh, my
that last
apologies.
item.
Are there any public comments in the presentation?
So I just have a quick question.
Absolutely.
There's a talk about like the balance between safety and the signals. I was just curious about that actually, because I've almost gotten run over like several times in many of those signals, so. How do you tweak the signal patterns or whatever to protect pedestrians better in particular?
very good question.
Well, Mark mentioned LPIs, that's leading pedestrian interval, and that's
Okay,
where
I
a
had no
pedestrian
idea
as an
what that
example.
acronym meant. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
I had no idea what that acronym meant. so
Yeah,
Thank you.
leading pedestrian interval, so that just means that you'll get the walk signal before the vehicles will get their green signal. So that's one way to address pedestrian safety. That will give you an opportunity to get into the intersection and make yourself visible before cars are turning
So when I'm
left or
walking
right.
from Lafayette Plaza to Bank of America. And people see the green light and they come flying down and take a right.
Yeah, right.
I've almost gotten run over like 3 times, so maybe it would help with that.
We hope so. Yeah, that's a challenging intersection, but for many reasons, but yes,
I've seen police there too. I think that's probably the most helpful thing,
right.
is giving people tickets there all
They
day.
do spend time
You
there.
probably could do that
Mhm.
all day long and make some good revenue for the city, right?
Yeah,
By the way, I'm a merit badge counselor with a scout troop 284, and I have 2 scouts here that have come here as part of the citizenship and the community merit badge, so just want to say really appreciate the discussion here and having us be able to join. And yeah, but we also, my son and I, who's a scout, also live right in downtown Lafayette, so looking forward to these upgrades, so thank you. And I believe I already had a question.
Yeah, are LPI something that is already implemented in the signals in this area, or is that something that's going to come in this project?
we have been implementing LPI, so, Mount Diablo at Lafayette Circle, at Dewing, at Happy Valley Road, probably more intersections, we have LPIs there. And we actually have really focused on pedestrian safety at those intersections. We've split the pedestrian phases so that if you're crossing on one of the crosswalks across Mount Diablo, you the cars will not get a green to turn left into where the crosswalk you're going into. I'm having trouble
Yeah,
articulating what it is, but we split the phases to enhance pedestrian safety at those intersections. We have LPI by Spring Hill School, at Pleasant Hill Road, at Spring Hill Road.
Is it at Moraga Road? Mount Diablo at Moraga?
I believe so.
Got, in fact, the advanced sign there that
Mhm.
says where you've almost been hit,
Mhm.
vehicles yield to pedestrians,
yeah.
kind of lights up
Yeah.
also. So,
I guess the trade-off though is it does reduce the flow of traffic a little bit.
It slows
Yeah.
it slows traffic, right? So,
Can't have as many cars flow through in a given time period.
That's right.
Yeah.
that's right. At those three intersections that I mentioned, we got some complaints from older individuals that the green time is not long enough for them to cross Mount Diablo, and so this winter we're gonna be adding more time for pedestrians to be able to cross. That may have impacts on vehicle traffic as well, but this project will help us be able to actually make faster determinations of how we can find better balance.
And like Andy mentioned, the video analytics will give you that near miss video. If ever there's a pedestrian that comes close to a car, you'll be able to see that video later on a cloud.
Will you be putting countdown clocks on the other crosswalk signs, or are those not getting upgraded? Yeah, where it counts down how many seconds are left. I mean, it's like some of the ones on Mount Diablo don't count down.
Probably if you're crossing the side streets, there's not countdowns, but I believe all the crosswalks across Mount Diablo have.
But only doing doesn't.
I wouldn't, this project wouldn't
Affect that,
affect
no.
the actual head, would it? No.
That's not one of the elements of this project.
One direction at doing does not,
Yeah,
yeah. Imagine as they break, might upgrade them, so they need repair.
When he frowns, I worry.
Mike?
No, I'm all happy. I'm gonna smile.
It'll be great though. I didn't realize I'd be so interested in this topic, but glad to be here. And I actually was also interested in the discussion around like diverting the traffic off the highway. In that case, I would say we should make it less efficient, right? Just encourage the behavior. Can we all agree on that?
We'll get phone calls. It doesn't matter what we do. We'll get phone calls.
Thank you, Mike, and thank you. Any other questions? Thank you for joining us tonight. Any questions online? All right. On to item 7B for new business, is the quarterly report on transportation action requests. The recommendation is to receive and file the summary of TARs of the transportation action requests submitted during the fourth quarter of 2025.
So for the benefit of the folks in the audience, transportation action requests or TARs are submitted to me by members of the public who are requesting operational changes or signage changes or something to do with transportation. Those get evaluated by me and either acted upon or denied, and appeals can be made to this commission. And so every quarter, I provide summaries to the commission about the TARs that were received and give those who submitted them an opportunity to come and speak if they want to. In the fourth quarter of 2025, I received 2 TARs. The first one at Pleasant Hill Road at Hidaro Court, a request for a crosswalk, but that location is actually not under our jurisdiction. It's unincorporated Contra Costa County. So it was forwarded to staff at unincorporated Contra Costa County. The second one, request Janet Lane from a resident who have neighbors parking their cars opposite the driveway, and the request was to make that block no parking. I went out and determined that even with a car parked in that location, and Janet Lane is narrow, there is still room for a person to back out of the driveway. There is quite a long curb area for that neighbor to park, so I suggested that some friendly community communication take place and just a friendly request to not park the car there, but that implementing no parking was a little heavy-handed, I thought, for a nice residential street. And that summarizes the TARs received in fourth quarter of 2025.
Could I
Yes.
ask a question? Would it be possible for all the people who come to visit or don't come to visit? They're not so many. But it seems to me that we do better when we don't do so much abbreviating. Just knock off the abbreviations and pretend that they don't exist or we don't use them. because they're very confusing for people. And I don't think we should do that, if I may say so.
Excellent. Any questions from the commissioners? Do I open it to the public? If there's any questions?
No, no members, no hands raised.
Okay. Anyone here? Any questions? Okay, great. Item 8 on the agenda is commissioner and staff updates. Commissioners, do we have anything to report? Right. Staff, is there anything else you'd like to
We have
report?
no staff reports today.
All right, so last item on the agenda is adjournment. So seeing that this meeting is adjourned at 7:50. So thanks for your time and for coming.